Welcome to the World Beyond Belief. Today we have a very, very special guest, Ole Dammegard. He's talking to us from Spain. He's an amazing guy, and I consider him one of the few people sent to mankind to help us through this awakening process. And I think he's doing an amazing job. He's too humble to talk about that one, but let me first of all start off. I first encountered Ole on an interview with Red Ice Radio. Now, this interview was about the Kennedy assassination, basically. And it was a long, long interview. But it was so exciting because Ole had done such an incredible job of investigating that he knew everything. He knew who was involved in the assassination. He knew, actually, in a few instances, the type of cars that they were driving. I mean, he'd really done his homework. So I was amazed, but that's not all about Ole. He's also a musician, he's an artist, he's a yoga teacher, and now he's really working full-time on trying to get the world out of the prison and into the paradise. Last summer, he might have saved the world from a false flag attack at the Bilderberg meeting, and I'll have him explain that later during the interview. Now he speaks all over the place, is really trying to get people to come into their own, to wake up and be what they were always intended to be. Ole?
I'm here.
I know you were humbled by saying that you're sent to wake mankind up, but I think a lot of us are, you know.
I truly believe what you're saying is true. It's only by each and every one of us waking up that we can make this stop, you know. And I think what most people, when they start waking up to what's going on in the world, it is a very painful experience to most of us to discover that so many of the things that we have been taught and in our education, through our parents, through friends and society, that it's been absolute lies and built by the time to deceive us. And so when most people wake up, they go through stages almost like when you lose a loved one. First you totally deny it, very violently try to work against it. But then once the truth really hits home and you see, oh my God, this is actually happening, then you can get so focused and so extreme in your studies that you go into a very black hole, you know, that everything goes so dark around you. And many of us start pestering everybody around us, starting to convince them as well of these things that we have just discovered. I believe that is not the way to go. I think the one we need to focus on is the one in the mirror, the one looking back at us, because it's only by changing yourself that you can change the world around you. So I always try to inspire people to, instead of forcing their new views upon family and friends around them, try to live by example instead and become an inspiration for other people. And once you inspire people, once people start looking up to you and respect you, that's when they start listening to you, not before then. So I think it is a very challenging time, it's a very scary time, it's a very wonderful time, it is the time where all of these things are going to happen, and most people say, oh, I have been waiting for somebody to change the world, but the one you've been waiting for is yourself. It is up to us. If we don't do it, we're going under. And if we do it, we're just turning this world into this beautiful, beautiful place it's supposed to be. So, there you go.
Yeah, I think you're right. I characterize it a lot as it's a spiritual awakening, but also it's a knowledge awakening. You have to kind of relearn what we're here to do, relearn what's going on. Would you tell us a little bit about how you got involved and how you originally came to the understanding that things weren't exactly the way they seem to be?
I tell you, my brother was born in Denmark many years ago, and I grew up in a family that was very much involved in the resistance movement during the Second World War against the Nazi occupation. So I was, as a child, I heard a lot of stories about the importance of standing up for what is true and right, even though it can be very scary. And even though you are, just like Gandhi said, even if you're the minority of one, the truth is still the truth. You know in your heart what is right and what is wrong. And when I grew up with a very, I would call it almost like a dictator. My dad was very much like a dictator in the family. And I grew up in a family that on the surface was very beautiful, the most beautiful family, you know, everything was so wonderful. And at the same time, it was a dictatorship. So I think I got very sensitive to things when they were not said out loud, and when things were being lied about or not spoken about and so on. So I think as a child, I started becoming very almost allergic to lies or things that was not, or things that were being hidden, or also when people were being bullied around. And then when I grew up, I started working as a journalist, and these things hit me deep in the heart, you know, when people were being abused or killed in different countries and for unjust reasons and so on. That's just something that really was deep in my heart, that I need to do something. I need to do something about this. And then in 1984, I took an old bicycle. I felt the world was calling for me. I didn't know why, but I just felt I need to go out and find whatever it is I'm supposed to find. So I got myself an old bicycle, and I cycled alone from Sweden just towards anywhere. I didn't really know where I was going, so I was heading for South Africa. But instead, I really feel I was somehow led to Iran, which was, it was in the middle of the war between Iran and Iraq, and something inside me was just saying, go in there, even though my mind was like, oh my God, are you mad? Because I thought that Iran was a country filled with extreme fanatics running around, shooting each other, screaming, Allah Akbar, that type of thing. And at that time, during this very horrible war, Iran did not want any influence from the outside. They stopped giving out visas more or less, and they didn't want foreigners in there at all. So, but against all odds, I kept going and pushing for a visa in Turkey when I was there. And one day, the guy in the consulate just got fed up and stamped my passport so I could go in there. And it ended up with me getting into this war zone. And instead of meeting absolute mad people, I met the most beautiful people of my life, but in an extremely difficult situation on all different levels, all types of oppression, and in very severe financial situation, and at the same time being bombed on a daily basis. So, but what was really so incredible for me was that these people that I thought were from another planet or very strange and with a strange religion and strange and all types of ways turned out to be so beautiful and identical to myself. There was no difference. It was just that they were in this situation in an awful war zone, and I came from a country that was in a totally different situation. I mean, it's just as well been the other way around. So after a while, they started seeing that I really cared for them. I mean, I really started loving these people. Not all of them. I'm saying the few people I met close up, and they saw me as a possibility to get the truth out about what was happening in Iran at the time. So they took me everywhere. You know, they showed me where the secret agents were, the Revolutionary Guards, underground prisons, you name it, they took me and so on. And then while I was there, one of them got murdered, and the brother of this person was getting very, very scared because he thought that he was next in line. So I just felt I need to give it my everything, So I offered to smuggle him out from Russia and East Germany up to Sweden, and that is what we did. And I managed to get him there alive, and then after that, we got 7 more people out. I've written a book called Shadow of Tears about this thing, and I'm trying to make it into a major motion picture. But anyway, what I experienced in Iran, I think, was when you feel oppression on your skin. I was the lucky one. I was blonde, and I got away. But these other people, I mean, we were stopped in many roadblocks, and people would just pull up the buses to disappear, never to be seen again. So it was a very scary and awakening experience for me to see that this is madness. We need to stop the madness. And then when I got back to Sweden, I got more and more involved in or trying to understand what was going on. I started with the JFK assassination, which led me to the Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all of these things. And I just, I was like obsessed with it. I read hundreds of books, and I did all the things to try and find out what had actually happened. And then the Swedish Prime Minister, Olof Palme, was murdered in 1986, and I thought up till then that I lived in a beautiful democracy, that I could trust the police, and that everything was good, And then, after a while, I started seeing a very clear pattern of the same thing happening in Sweden as had happened after the JFK, Robert Kennedy, and all of these assassinations. It was almost like they were following like a template, like a bullet point list of how to carry these assassinations out and blame it on a lone crazy guy. And that really blew me away, because I thought, oh my God, how is it possible that a murder in Sweden can be carried out the same way as in the States if they are not connected? So I started looking upon this from a higher level to see, are there really connections? Is it possible that the same power could be behind these things? And then over the years, the more I looked into these different assassinations, the more connected I found them. And in the end, now I'm at a point, I'm 30 years plus down the road, and now I can just see that this so-called global elite that they call themselves, I prefer calling them the minority of the lightless, are behind so much mayhem in the world today. It's a very small group, only a few thousand, that are behind so extremely much in this world. It's like a neighborhood with a very violent bully that is just terrorizing the rest of us, and we don't even know that it's done by the same little group. We think that all these so-called terror acts and mass shootings and financial collapses and civil wars and other wars and you name it, and GMOs and vaccines, that they're all different, that they're separated things, that they're not connected. I beg to differ. I would very much suggest, after all these years, they are connected to the very same small little group that it's like an octopus with tentacles in so many different areas of our lives.
I've got a question.
Please interrupt me.
I think that we kind of go through a process of waking up, and at some point, you just can't take it anymore. You just have to go out and do something about it. Obviously, that occurred to you, in the 80s or early 90s? Because now you're almost full-time working at exposing what's going on.
It was, my waking up was in maybe 84 or something like that. That was when I started seeing that, my God, we're being lied to big time. So this gave me the advantage of having been down this road for such a long time, because I've seen it from such a different angle than most people today, because so many are just about to waken up now. So it just gives me an advantage and a wider angle to look from a high perspective.
Yeah, you had a couple of things going for you. You were, first of all, European, which are more externally oriented, whereas Americans are more domestically oriented. And you seem to be fearless. I mean, bicycling to Iran. I mean, that's way beyond the idea of most people. And you got yourself involved in a heavy duty conflict, and you actually pitched in and helped. That's an amazing story. That's an amazing story.
I tell you, fearless, I would say not. Shit scared, I would say yes many times. But the thing is to not let fear dominate you. You know, that when your heart tells you you have to do it, then I would say do it. You know, because otherwise you will be punishing yourself for years afterwards. Why didn't I do it? Why didn't you? Because you know in your heart what is right to do. And I don't know, you know, like Bob Marley said, I'm just a simple man with a simple wish. I just want to unite mankind. And I don't know, this is just a desire that I've had since I was a kid, that I want to do everything I can to do my part. I'm not giving up until all wars have ended, all hostilities have ended. I just want peace and happiness for anyone. How it's going to be accomplished, I have no idea about. If it's going to be accomplished, I have no idea. But that is the intention. And either I'm going to die very happy having been part of accomplishing it, or not. And then at least I tried.
Well, I think you have a lot to say about intentionality, and how intention brings things out in the universe. So I think that's what you have to kind of devote yourself to that. That's really admirable.
I think the intention is the important one, and then through the emotions, you have to add emotions to it. It's the emotion that will pull it into your reality. So by focusing, I would also say inspiration, that is like your GPS. Whatever gives you goosebumps, that is what you're meant to do. And so follow your goosebumps, follow your passion, and then add the intention. Try to stay online, you know, stay in the right direction. You will see if you get off track, you will start getting sad or depressed or anxious or so. That is clear signs, or angry. These are signs that you're off track. So see if you can get back on track, and then keep the intention, add the feelings. The stronger the feelings, the more it will pull it in. And this works both for negative feelings and positive feelings, so-called negative. So if the good things are what you want to pull in, then stay focused on the positive feelings. And I would say the one that works the best for me is gratitude. The more grateful I am and thankful for all the beautiful things in my life, which all of us has. Even if you're out living in the street, you can always find things to be grateful for if you want. The more grateful, the more you lift yourself, and the more you empower yourself, and then it will pull it into your life. And I would say that the forces we are up against are very aware of this, and they're trying to push us down into fear mode, push us down into depression, and just push us down where they can control us. So if you don't know what else to do, if there's nothing else you can do the way you see it, empower yourself by filling your heart with gratitude. You know, do good things, be good, spread good, and the surroundings will respond to you in a beautiful way.
Yeah, you told a story in one of the other interviews I was listening about your being asked for your identification during the Bilderberg group meeting, I think it was, and you stood in your rights, but you also kept love in mind. That was a really touching story, and it really is a good ending. Could you relate? Go ahead.
It is, for me, it's like there are such a thing as danger. Danger exists, yes, but fear is only in the mind, and the fear is about things that will happen in the future. It's never about now, it's for things to come in the future. And it's only in your mind, so that's the one you can control. The danger, be aware of them, but the only thing you can control is the fear, whatever you let in. And the more fearful you are, I would suggest the bigger the chance for you to get hurt in many situations. So if I get confronted with somebody threatening or so-called dangerous or so on, what I try to do is focus my mind on non-fear. And the one that works for me, the word that works for me is divine. To keep repeating the word divine, it sounds new agey or whatever, I don't care, it works for me. Whatever word works for you, please be my guest. But if I keep, when this, let's say for instance, there's this screaming face in front of me or somebody threatening to bash my head in or something like that, if I, instead of getting fearful, because as soon as I get fearful, I'm in his ball, in his corner, in his ball game. And that is where he wants me. Or if I get violent and try to hit back, I'm in his ball game and he will just squash me. Because these people are trained. Violence is their language. But if I can keep repeating and keep my mind focused on divine, 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 don't give the mind a chance to escape into fear mode. Just keep repeating, divine, divine, he's somebody's son, he's somebody's brother, he's somebody's father, divine, divine, he does not know what he's doing, divine. That is what helps me. And I've seen amazing things happen, not just for me, but other people as well, when you stay in that higher frequency of love, because something diffuses it. I don't know what it is. I would say it's one of the miracles in the universe. It's like if you meet violence with love, or if you meet threat or whatever with a higher frequency, the frequency of, well, the highest one being what we call love, it diffuses. Somehow it diffuses. The one that is trying to bash your head in gets very confused because you do not get scared. And it stops in midways. And very often it dissolves into something really beautiful that you're sitting down and having a chat, or he's, expressing his personal problems about his wife not understanding him, wanting to walk around in bulletproof vest and long johns or whatever. It diffuses it. So if you want to, I can go into that thing that happened at the Bilderberg meeting, because it's just one example. I mean, I was in a situation in a country, Denmark, which is very gentle, very soft, if you compare to the States, for instance, where there's so many incredible examples of people standing up in their rights, for their right, in what can be a very dangerous situation. So I would very much say hail to them, and mine is a minor example, but I'll be happy to share it with you.
Well, yeah, that would be good if you could just briefly go over it, because I think it was amazing. It seemed to me when you were describing it before, something just occurred to you to be resistant. I mean, it just didn't seem right to you, so you stood up for what you thought was right. It was amazing.
It's like when you study history, as one of the things that is a sure sign of the dictator taking over is when you, the citizen, have to start showing up your papers. That was what Hitler did, Stalin did, Mao did, all of these things. As soon as they start with that, this dictatorship is creeping in. So these are one of the things that really, I'm allergic to these things. It just reacts again. So at that, I was invited as one of the key speakers outside the Bilderberg meeting in 2000, this summer actually, in June. And the evening before the whole thing started, I came to Copenhagen and I was driven to this hotel where they were supposed to meet. And I found it very odd, the location that they had chosen this time. So I was walking up and down the streets just trying to check out there was something very weird there. So I was just walking down the pavement together with a friend. There was very little people there. And this Danish police car pulled over. And a very nice young police officer came over and said, "Hi, how are you doing? Would you mind just showing me your papers?" And something inside of me said, absolutely no way am I going to show you my papers. Not that I had no reason to hide who I was. I was on posters. I mean, it was not like a state secret who I was. There were posters nearby with my name on it. But it was like he didn't know who I was, and so he said, "Would you mind showing me your papers?" I said, "Very sorry, but no." And then he got a bit confused. He said, "But please, I just want to see your papers, see who you are." So I said, "Well, who are you? If you tell me who you are, then I will tell you who I am." He said, "No, no, I'm a police officer. And so please understand, you in Denmark, by law, you have to show ID if a police officer approaches you." And I said, "Very sorry, but no." Then while we were standing there were a few other people. There were people from Infowars and some other journalists were around. So they were in the background starting to get to notice what was going on, because this was dragging out for like 10, 15 minutes. And then after a while, the police captain came out of the car. He came up and confronted me as well. Very nice man, very gentle eyes, a nice person for sure. And he came up and said, "Please, you have to understand, this is not a game. You have to identify yourself, or I need to arrest you." I did not answer that. And he just kept repeating, "You have to show these things." And then I said to him, "You know, you are a police officer of this country. I'm a citizen of Denmark. You are supposed to work for the people. Do you know who you are protecting? In this case, this group on the other side of the road who's going to meet here tomorrow. Do you know about this group?" He said, "No." "Do you know?" He said, "No, but we got people on the inside that will take care of that." I said, "No, you do not, because not even normal police are allowed into this hotel. That's super secret there. No one is allowed in there. And you are actually protecting them from people like me." He said, "Well, I'm not interested in politics." I said, "Neither am I. We're talking super criminals that are here having an agenda to take down the world, actually, you know." So, well, he said, "It doesn't matter. Now you show me your ID or I will arrest you." So it ended up with him almost taking me away, because I just felt in my heart, I'm not going to show you my ID. I'm not going to subdue to any kind of pressure, because the thing was, he did not know what he was doing. He did not know who he was protecting. He was just following orders. So in the end I said, "Listen, you know, this is actually a waste of time. If I don't tell you my name, you will take me downtown, you will book me, you will say, 'Who are you?' I will not tell you. You will say, 'If you don't tell me, you're going to have to stay overnight.' I said, 'Fine, give me a pillow.' And then I said, then I will stay overnight there, and in the morning, if you are a nice police officer, you will be kind enough to drive me back. Maybe I will have to pay some fines or something like that, but instead of paying the hotel, it will come out the same." So absolute waste of time. So why don't we do it like this? You promised me that you go home and study the so-called Bilderberg group. Check it out on the internet. Nowadays, there are millions of hits about this group. You check out who you are serving, who you are protecting from normal people like me, and I will tell you who I am. So he said, "Okay." So I told him my name. I gave him a totally false address. Everything else was false, but I promised to give him my name, so I gave him that. And then I said, "So now, are you, as a police officer, going to go home and do that?" He said, "No." So I said, "That's up to you. That's your karma, but not very honest, honorable being a police officer," and so on. Anyway, by that time, we had been surrounded by other people and other journalists that would keep bombarding them with questions. "Why did you stop this guy? Why aren't you not stopping the people on the other side of the street? He didn't do anything." So after a few minutes, they were so occupied with answering questions and so on. So I just walked off in the middle of it and just left him there. I just hope that it got some kind of... I'm sorry, what I totally forgot in this whole thing was that while he was standing threatening me, I kept repeating, "Divine, divine, divine," just like I was saying before. He's somebody's brother. Instead of going into fear mode, what's going to happen to me? He's in uniform, he will sue, I will have to, whatever. I kept my mind, divine, divine, divine. And I could see how he got very confused and out of balance because somebody was not buying his so-called authority, was not being threatened, was not subsiding or whatever it's called, because of this official uniform he had on.
Yeah,
and
I think. Go ahead, Ole.
Sorry, I just got off track a little bit, but that was the story in general.
That's a great story. What I like about that story is the processes that you used to stay on a high vibration. First of all, you knew your trick, divine. That's really, really an amazing trick. I hope we can all find something like that. Second of all, the way you characterized the opposition was very tender and caring. You said before in the interview that remember that these people they have mothers and sons and, they're part of the human race. You thought that the police officer was very nice. I think that's important because it's so easy to dehumanize, especially since that seems to be the main thing that the cabal really wants to do. They dress their police officers up like robots, put black shields over their face. They try to dehumanize them, and then of course, if you're opposing to them, you dehumanize them too because they're the opposition. But what you did in this case was really cool in that you kept it on a human level. You kept the divinity in there, and it turned out to be a good situation. It's really an amazing story. Glad I got to hear it again.
I tell you, I am friends with assassins. I'm friends with former, riot police officers. I'm friends with police officers. I'm friends with this is also when I came to the Bilderberg meeting, I did not come as an activist or a fighter of, like freedom fighter or let's kill them and string them up, let's get the revenge. I came as myself. I came to meet friends in the Truth Movement. I came to meet friends in the Bilderberg meeting. If they chose to be my friend and have the balls to step forward as whistleblowers, I was not there to fight, but I was there to totally fearlessly expose them. It's not backing 1 millimeter. And this is just, it's because this is who I am. I'm not here to fight, but I'm not accepting what is going on. So when I look, I love it, like when I look in the eyes of someone really violent or really so-called mad or something like that, if you look in the eye of that person, because the really violent ones can get very, very black in their eyes. It's almost like the spirit leaves them, very scary. But if you look and just focus on this, I don't know what to say, but suddenly there's a spark there, and the spark of humanity, the spark of love, it just gets ignited if you can meet their eyes without violence. And once again, there's this beautiful like fireworks that happens, at least inside me, when that spark is there. So very scary and very easy to lose focus, very easy to get carried away if you get angry or scared or so. But if you can keep focus, you're in for miracles and you are in for a beautiful road forward, I think. So I'm not here to point any blaming fingers at George Bush or the Bilderbergers or assassins or whatever. I know in myself, when I saw in Iran, for instance, I saw some people in this very difficult situation had become mujahideen, so-called guerrilla freedom fighters. Other people were torturing them. Other people were soldiers. Other people were victims. I just felt the more I looked into it, I just felt I can't blame anyone, because I know in the right or in a very difficult situation, I might have ended up like them. Had somebody slaughtered my daughter in front of me, I could have turned into a monster or something like that. Or had I been forced to do something, I just see that I believe me being capable of doing awful things. I really hope I will not do it ever, but I know that I'm capable. I'm in this body and mind. If I don't control it, the mind will be able to do atrocities. At least that I have the tools and the options to do it. So, but there's another way to go, and that's the way that I try to do everything I can to stick on that and promote that, and that is the way of love, to meet it with love, to do it without judgment, but to make it stop. It is enough. It is enough. There's so many people hurting for no reason, and just like you say, it is a spiritual awakening. And I'm very grateful to this so-called global elite, because we have been so brain dead for such a long time, allowing these few thousand people to get away with absolute, literally murder, mass murder, because we've been so asleep. And thank God that they kept it to a very small group, so that we would be able to, through the fog in front of our eyes, say, oh my God, it's him again. 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 Maybe it's connected. And so, so many of these so-called conspiracies are absolute no-brainers. If you take Robert Kennedy, assassination of Robert Kennedy, to this day, people are still saying, no, was it Sirhan, or was it not? It was not. He had a revolver with 8 bullets. He was standing 1 meter 30 in front of Robert Kennedy. That was the closest he ever got. 8 bullets, 13, 14 shots were fired. You do not have to be a scientist to figure out there must have been a second shooter. No, you're a conspiracy theorist. I am not. I'm into conspiracy facts. And due to us being so asleep for so many years, somebody is sitting, rotting away, in this case Sirhan, his whole adult life, being totally innocent to this, and he's just one of so many that have gotten their life destroyed because the rest of us have just not cared or woken up to the fact of what is going on. This is just one example. When you look into these conspiracies, there are thousands of examples of so obvious that this is a conspiracy, but no. And just because people say no on this black screen in front of you, people believe it.
Right. It's much easier to fool somebody than to convince them they've been fooled. And so it's hard to really, because you're working against egos and,
Yeah, but listen. I'm just like, let's take Pentagon. You got a plane the size of a massive big 757. It disappears into the hole of a missile. It's only like a few meters wide. They say that the wings folded, the whole plane entered into the building. 2 6-ton titanium engines disappeared. The official story to this very day that we are buying was that they vaporized due to high heat. I'm just saying, if I write to my insurance company and say, listen, my car is gone. Okay, what happened? They would say, could you please describe what happened? Well, I reversed into the wall and the friction made the car vaporize. Would they pay me? Would they consider me absolutely mad? I would say yes.
Yes.
But this is what we're buying. This is what we're buying, and it's just again and again. The Twin Towers, the whole, it's like 500,000 ton for each building of steel, reinforced steel and concrete and so many other things to make them, take any type of impact and so. They were dustified. They were turned into dust, absolute dust. I'm not going to go into the details how it was done because it was absolutely incredible the way they did it. But still to this very day, No, no, no. It was like a group of 19 hijackers with paper cutters and so on. With nine of them still alive after the
Right.
whole thing. It's like how much evidence do you need to see that, my God, maybe something strange is going on?
Right. I think that's where they found the passport for one of the hijackers on the
That
ground.
was the that was the only thing that survived the whole thing.
But
The
no, but
whole
I think that's really crazy. I mean, how could a passport survive it when a building doesn't survive it?
For one thing, it was a national flight, so why was he even bring a passport? If it was a suicide bomber, would you
Right.
bring your passport? Let me just see, what am I going to do? I need to write my testament, a letter to my children, and to Allah, blah, 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 and I mustn't forget my passport and my toothbrush, you know.
Right.
This type of, it's like the rental car, they came in, you know, what was left in the rental car came, they couldn't even make the time be constant with the distance and the timing for the car to arrive to the parking. What was in the car, there was, of course, a Quran. They never fail to surprise me. The Quran and a VHS instruction video on how to fly a 757. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You put that in the VHS player and you can fly one of these planes? I think not. But they make it so obvious because they know how asleep we are. So they need to make it extremely obvious for us. Oh, they were Muslims, yes, because the Quran, suicide bomber, yeah. Passport, of course, then it must be then. And the VHS, because otherwise they couldn't explain how a person who could hardly fly a Cessna could suddenly fly this 757. So thank God for VHS and instructional videos.
Right. You really delve into the content of these different conspiracies pretty well. But I think your real contribution is by identifying the patterns. And your identification of these patterns that always happen during these false flags helped you avert a tragedy, probably avert a tragedy during the Bilderberg meeting this last summer. Patterns by knowing that there's always a drill going on, being able to see those patterns. I think that's a real good contribution that you make to this whole conspiracy stuff.
This is what I'm trying. Instead of going into so many of these different assassination, false flag, and so on, once you start seeing how they're carried out, you will start seeing the patterns, and then people will start reacting on an earlier stage, and even maybe be able to pre-expose what is going on before it even happens. And many of these things are carried out on a very similar, like I said, almost like a template that was developed by the old Romans. One of the favorites they use on such a regular basis is the one they call problem, reaction, solution. So many times this so-called global elite, if they just pushed forward their agenda, a very, very dark agenda that is always focused on centralizing the power to fewer and fewer people, taking away all civil rights and human rights, getting a more militarized police, more and more surveillance, a one world digital currency, a microchip population, depopulated 2/3 of us, bye-bye, chop, 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 and so on. Very dark agenda. But I lost the thread now.
You were talking about
problem, yeah, exactly. Problem, reaction, solution. If they just force this agenda forward, as a prime minister of a country, for instance, I could very easily, if I wanted to, just order tanks in the streets and get the police out looking like Robocops, kicking in doors everywhere, arresting people, putting them in jails forever and ever. I could do that. But then I would have a massive problem with uprising. I would have demonstrations, I would have underground movements, I would have maybe boycotts from other countries, I would have maybe financial problems and so on. So the way to do it, this is how they committed some of these military coups in South America. Very, very sloppy. It became very, very sloppy, very difficult to handle. and so on. And in the end, they needed almost as many military and police in the streets as there were people in the population. So that's not the way to go. The way that they do it is that they secretly create a problem. This is very often in the shape of a financial disaster, a bomb. They love bombs, a mass shooting, some kind of virus, Ebola scare, that type of thing. They secretly create the problem to get the reaction from the population. And the reaction they always want is the, my God, something needs to be done, emotional reaction, so that you do not use the thing that God gave you between your ears. They don't want you to use your brain. They want you to just react emotionally. So they secretly create the problem to get the reaction, oh my God, something needs to be done, and then we, the people, will turn towards the people that we have elected or selected to solve these kind of problems. And then they will say, well, the only way we can solve this awful problem is by, and then in comes their solution. You will see, this is a very clear pattern on problem, reaction, solution. They secretly place a bomb somewhere. They very purposely do it so that women and children, especially women and children, that's the one that will get the most emotional impact from the population. They pump out all these awful, awful images while pointing straight at a patsy saying, it was him, it was him, it was him. And so that once the population is totally going mad, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, then that's when they drive in with the tanks, with the martial law, with the police officers looking like Robocops and so on. And we will welcome them because, oh, thank God for the people in power now. Here they are helping us with this awful threat, not understanding that it's the same people behind the bomb. One of the things when they do these, they're called false flag operations. Most of the wars that has been committed in modern times have been based on false flag operations, where they say, oh, the enemy has attacked us, we need to hit back. But actually, it was their own soldiers dressed in the enemy uniforms that attacked, so that they had an excuse to go and hammer the whatever out of that country.
Yeah, I think that all the wars that the U.S. has been involved in the 20th century, anyway, have been based on false flags. It's an interesting process, this problem, reaction, solution, because it seems to be the only one they use. The archons that are talked about by David Icke, I'm sure you're aware of what they are. They don't seem to be a very creative group of whatever they are, entities. They seem to use one tactic over and over. You were talking about them using it all the way back to Roman times.
But what does that tell you about the rest of us? I mean, how many times, and we're still buying it. This is what blows my mind. How many times does it take to see it? If you got a dove in one hand and you got a dove in the other hand, and you see another dove, it's a dove. No, it's not. It's a different thing. That was a very bad example to choose, but I'm just saying it feels like, sometimes I say you've seen Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. You sort of get the general idea that he will come out as the winner in the end, and there's this bad guy. How many times are they going to be able to create a new bad guy that Rocky can come up against, and then win in the end? They always need to get the threat from the outside so that they can come in as the savior, and we will welcome their solution. So I would just say, if you've seen like Rocky 28, it's about time to wake up to the theme, to see that, oh my God, maybe it's the same director behind all of these. And these mass shootings and so-called terror acts, I tell you, after 30 years plus, I am not sure there is such a thing as a real terrorist. Not the way we have been presenting. We've been introduced to the term terrorist, because every single time they have been trained, equipped by If it's inside the States, it's the FBI who's training them, equipping them, directing them to do these things. If you go globally, my God, the CIA, they're just all over the place. Same people, they finance, they create the enemies, they support them to build them up strong so that they become a threat, and they hammer whatever the Jesus out of them, making it okay to invade yet another country, and yet another country, and yet another country.
Right.
It's like, I'm a friend of Chip Tatum.com, who's his website is chiptatum.com. He's a whistleblower now, but he was a CIA deep cover agent for 25 years. He was a black op assassin. He was one of the Night Stalker pilots, these black helicopters. He was one of the pilots in the Iran-Contra scandal, and he was also the commander of an ultra-secret hit team called Pegasus under the direct control of George Bush Sr. They took out at least 17 people internationally. We're back to not judging. This is a very strange experience for me to be on a friendly basis with someone that I know and have done absolute horrible things, but who is now changing sides and doing everything he can to help expose these things behind the things. But he said that the real terrorist in the world is the American army. That is the one that is used as a terrorist tool in the world. Now it's joined with NATO and UN, so it's getting more global, but that is where the real terrorists are. But I would take it one step further, that the real terrorists are people you see on TV on a daily basis, nice suits, $5,000 suits and cars and giving speeches. These are the people behind the scenes, that they are the ones ordering these awful things and so on. So these are the people we need to expose big time.
Right. I think we're at a good time. I can remember a couple of years ago when the Boston bombing happened. I was watching it, and supposedly during the coverage of the Boston bombing, and it was covered by InfoWars and a lot of individual journalists that were pumping out a lot of information. They said that the number of hits, or the number of Google searches on the word false flag, really went off the scale. So apparently, people are getting the idea that
was a tipping point in my opinion. The Boston bombing, that one, just like you say, the Google search word, it skyrocketed, and different alternative media TV stations, like Latin American TV stations and so on, starting to expose these things. And people were calling in all the time, but it's another mass shooting, it's another false flag, it's another false flag, it's another false flag. Had never happened before. And ever since that, I think they've had a major problem, because they've speeded it up. For a while there, I don't know now, but there was a while where there was a mass shooting, one a week. They speeded it up to what they called, what has leaked out to scare of the week. One a week. Here one, and they needed to spread it out over the whole of the country. So it was one in Chicago, one in Illinois, one in New Orleans, one in New York, one in Los Angeles. But on a weekly basis, just like you say, they have not got a lot of imagination. It's very static very often, but that's very wonderful for someone like me, because it makes it so much more obvious, because they're not very good at it. They used to put a lot of effort into the conspiracies. Like, if you look at JFK, I would say a masterpiece. We're still confused 50 years down the road. 9/11, massive big operation, so many people involved, carried it out pretty good, sloppy, but they really did what they could. But now it's like, come on, it's so badly done, so sloppy, so no preparation, low budget, using the same actors. It's like, I mean, it's becoming like a joke. But at the same time, that is on the level where many people are waking up, because it's just so obvious to many normal people who have not been aware of this before.
Right, and they're starting to have to go to extreme measures. Last week, there's a group of independent journalists in the U.S. who I just happened to run into, and they made another video on Sandy Hook, and it's called "We Need to Talk About Sandy Hook." The government's going nuts because they've censored this video in every way. It's probably the most censored video ever. You can't find it on YouTube. You can't find it on Vimeo. The reason we were able to see it on archive.org, but they're starting to realize that these things are coming out and they're going to be exposed. What do you think about that?
I think it's wonderful. I think this sloppiness also shows how desperate they're getting, you know, how afraid they're becoming. And this is, in one way, wonderful. At the same time, it's not so good, because when people are fearful, they do stupid things and things that can turn very ugly. So I can very much understand if the elite are very scared. I've heard that George Bush Sr. cries every night before he goes to bed. I can totally understand him with his karma coming in. My God, what that man has been involved in is unreal, absolutely unreal. But at the same time, I would say these people are very afraid that now when this is beyond exposure, it's so coming out in such a big manner, that most of these people are fearing that we will chase them down the streets and string them up, lynch them. I say that is very possible, but not if I have a say in it, because that is not the way to go. If you study revolutions over the decades and centuries, you will see where, I would say, almost every single time that the people who made the revolution, just a few years down the line, they become even worse than the one they just chopped the head off. Right. So violence is not the way to do it. I do not have solutions, but what I say is I've seen beautiful things in South Africa, the way that with the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, how they went around in South Africa and gave us, what do you call it, not asylum, but amnesty, if people came totally clear, so that the truth came out there. The truth, however horrible it was, the main thing was that the truth could come out there so that people could start healing. And because when it's so hidden, that is where so much pain is buried. And I've seen beautiful examples of people who were torturers and their victims are now working side by side, you know, understanding that we went through this, and now it's a new time. We need to look forward. We need to look at the future. How are we going to create a new beautiful world out of this? One of the ways is to let go of revenge, let go of hatred, let go of anger. There's a lot of pain that needs to be released and healed on both sides. But the main thing, in my opinion, is that this has to stop. It has to stop. All of these wars that this group is behind. I mean, there's so many of the wars that are directed by the same small little group, just because the soldiers are so blind in what they're doing, and their officers have no idea. They're just following orders, following orders, following orders. The main thing is to expose it so that we can stop it. Once it's stopped, then it's up to us to see, okay, so how can we move on? What is the next step? How can we turn this world into this beautifully designed universe that it's meant to be, as far as I'm supposed? When you study nature, you look at a flower, you look at how nature interacts and everything, it's just made of like absolute beauty, the balance, the whole interaction, incredible. And then there are us who within less than 200 years have messed the whole place up. So how are we going to turn it around? How can we join together and start seeing each other as brothers and sisters, without competition, without pushing each other down, but helping each other to to take this to the next level? This is the big question.
It is the big question. I've been playing with that for weeks now. You know, there are atrocities going on, and there are people that are acting against other people. They just issued a CIA torture report where the CIA admitted all these horrible things, and I'm sure what they admitted wasn't nearly as bad as what actually went on. But how, I keep trying to think in my mind how that can be resolved. Well, I know there are crimes against humanity, and there's international rulings and judgments against that. But if you go in like that, aren't we being? I think we have to stop it. But the justice and forgiveness and how that all rolls out, I'm really, I don't know how that could come about. Do you have any ideas?
No. What I can say is, maybe it is like this, that justice has to be done. But I would say if you can do it without hatred in your heart, it is a better thing than if people are punished with violence and hate. I don't know. I do not know. What I do know is that it's like we're in a house and the house is on fire. We need to turn that fire out first. We need to stop this group, expose them totally so that they stop this madness. Once that is done, then we can focus on the next steps. But this is why I speak directly to people in uniform, to people in the CIA, the NSA, to police officers, to members of the elite, talking hopefully directly to their heart so that they will come to the understanding that this is wrong, that they're doing it to themselves as well. So this is, I have no idea. I really have no idea. I'll just do my very, very best, and that's all I can do. And if I can reach some hearts in the right, if I can reach the heart of a general, for instance, maybe he will stop giving orders to all of the soldiers underneath him, to aim at the key people as well as the people underneath him. Because the thing is that all of this is only going on because we are allowing it. There's this magic word, and it says, there's 2 letters in it, and it says no. If somebody says, shoot that guy, even if it's an order, it's you who do it. You have to look yourself in the mirror. You have to live with that. Even if you're in a uniform and somebody shouts at you, shoot the bugger, it is up to you to say, no, I'm not doing it. Go do that awful thing? No. Go throw these people out of this house because they haven't paid the tax that is totally illegal? The answer is no. Go bash that head in on these people that are demonstrating for peace? No. Go do that awful thing? Have roadblocks here? No. Be violent to that? Be violent in your language towards these people? No. There's so many different areas. I just say, people who are working in FEMA camps, who are working in the military, who are working in the police, who are working in surveillance things. I mean, people who are selling all of this high-tech crap that is controlling the rest of us. People that are listening into interviews like this, people who are trying to stop people like myself. Come on, guys. Listen. Get a life, Go home, hug your wife, take care of your kids. Life is short. It's not worth it. Please understand that the so-called global elite that are giving you the orders do not give a shit about you. You are just an empty uniform. You're just an empty position that can so easily be replaced. As soon as they don't need you anymore, you are in the line of people getting disposed of. And even if you're a general with loads of medals and you feel really powerful because you can control a couple of thousand people in uniform, please understand and study history. Every time a dictator has come into power, he has had his very loyal generals after a year or two, that general becomes a threat because he's too powerful. He's got too much control over the army, and it's so easy for the army to take out the dictator. So what does the dictator do? He chops the head of the generals. New generals in that he can control after a few years, chop, 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 down to. So not even as a general are you safe. And I say, it's so designed in with compartmentalization, it's everybody only know their little bit. And I think it's like that in the elite as well, to a major extent, that many people don't understand the real agenda. They know their little part, and they've been lured into it. They've been tricked into it many times. Come here, please be part of the big boys. You can play around with us now. You come in there, suddenly you are invited to sex parties with underage or children or whatever, without you knowing it. It's being filmed, and then suddenly, boom, as soon as you start raising your voice, it's going to be used against you. So they lure you in, and then they totally control you. They grab you by the balls, and they keep you there. If you stick your head out, from time to time, they just give examples of showing what will happen to you. So they execute people like JFK, Olof Palme, out in the open, out in the open daylight, cameras everywhere. They could have just as well slipped a pill in his coffee. They did not do that. Why? Because they were sending out the message, we can get anyone, anywhere, at any time, so you better back off and keep quiet. That was the old days. I think now is a new time, because it's beyond the tipping point. This is the wonderful thing. You cannot stop this thing that it's going out there. People are waking up in the millions. They really are. You will not see it in mainstream media, absolutely not, but you will see it. And just because you're riding in the subway and you look around and you see, oh my God, all of them are zombies, nobody really cares, nobody understands what's going on. I tell you, if you start speaking to these different people, so many of them will feel exactly the same way as you are, looking at you saying, oh my God, another zombie. There's this incredible awakening going on. It's just bubbling underneath the surface. And I think this is a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive, because this is when it's happening. People say, they ask me, so what do you think, will it happen when your children grows up? Absolutely not, in my opinion. They say the Bilderberg meeting, next one is 2015, June 1st. I say absolutely not. My intention, it will be stopped before then. If not then maybe 6 months more, but absolutely not more. It is happening now. It is happening now.
Right. Yeah, you did an interview a couple of weeks ago with Alfred Lamberman Weber. Do you remember that interview?
I've done many with him. Yes, is any specific?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to draw your attention and the listeners' attention to the fact that he's saying that the timeline has actually shifted, and that we're on a lot more positive timeline than we were before 2012. Are you familiar with his theory on this?
I don't know about these things. I leave that to other people who are better in that. But I sure do know that 2012, they said the world was going under. They tried everything to get us, in the position where they could just totally take over. Did not happen. Did not happen. And 2013, a lot better. 2014, better. And please go back to the fear thing. They try to pump our brain with saying that the end of the world is here, the Third World War is here. It has not happened yet. The world did not go under in 2012. It did not go under up until today. I have no idea about tomorrow, but in my world, it's going to be a beautiful tomorrow as well. And it's going to just keep on. They're going to try and trick us into, oh my God, we might as well lie down and die. I say absolutely not. Let's stand up in total transparency, peace, side by side, brothers and sisters, just saying, no, we're not doing it anymore. And you who are doing it to us, so few, come on. Realize realize that the game is over. It's a joke. It is a joke, so you might as well stop it. Stop it now before you do some more awful things. Be a man and a woman. Have some kind of courage. Stand up because the ship is going down. It is going down. Look at the English Queen, the former Pope, Queen Beatrix. They see, oh my God, the ship is going down. I might as well jump before the rats come out. The sooner you have some kind of courage, some kind of balls to stand up and say, listen, I am so deeply sorry, if that is what you are, that I have been part of creating this. But I now take full responsibility. I'm willing to stand up, take whatever repercussions will come, but I will expose what I have been part of. I don't know the whole thing, but I know my part, and I will share that with people so that that would be part of the liberation of humanity.
Yeah,
it is time. Sorry.
No, I think it's amazing that in some instances, probably these atrocities will be new to a lot of the people that are participating in them. You know?
I did not understand that.
I think that some of the people are so compartmentalized that some of the people that are participating in these atrocities may not know that they're a big part of it. You know, a lot of people are tied to their jobs because of economic situations, and their jobs may be contributing to this global elite's plan for global dominance. So
I totally agree.
So we need to realize that we all could be part of it and stand up and say we're sorry. I think that's probably the first step. What do you think?
I think that waking up, start seeing what's going on, start seeing, just like you say, am I in any way or form taking part of this? How am I contributing to this thing that my heart tells me is totally wrong? Am I? And if you are a bank director, if you are a tax, one of these taxmen that goes and knocks on people's door and throw them out, if you are a police officer, a soldier, a surveillance guy, if you are producing missiles for unjust wars, if you are, whatever your part is, please see what you can do to change it. It takes, like you can have an extremely complex engine working, and all it takes, like if it's a petrol engine, all it takes is a few spoons of sugar, and it will just break the whole engine down. Let's add some sugar to this brutal war machine. This is what they did in the Second World War, in Denmark. They gave a few teaspoons in the petrol, and these big tanks just broke down.
What an incredible metaphor. We're using sugar.
So let's do it with sugar. I'm not saying be wimps. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is have courage. Stand in balance. It's very important that you are balanced. Stay out of fear mode. See if you can focus as much as possible. And let's stop it. Add some sugar. I went to this workshop once. It was an Aikido workshop, but it was actually about relationships or life. And one of the exercises was that we were pushed up against the wall, and somebody held us by the wrists up against the wall, and they put somebody very strong that did it to us. So the instructor said to us, "Are you caught? Are you?" And most of us said, "Yes, I could not move." And he said, "Please observe that the person in front of you is holding like less than 2% of your body is held up against the wall. What can you do with the rest of it?" And what he instructed us to do was let go of the notion that you're caught or that you're stuck, and just focus on dancing. Just let the whole body go in a dance, just let go. And I tell you, we got out of it again and again, and these strong guys could not hold us once you let the mental blockage go. Unreal. It was fantastic to watch. Once again, here we are, oh my God, we're so strangled in this awful, awful situation. Are we really? How big a part of us are stuck? How big a part of us are dying? How big a part of it? It is a part, but not if you compare it to the part that is free and that can move and that can dance out of this. We can spin our way out of it. But it needs courage, it needs to be fearless, and it needs to stand up. I love these things when there are SWAT teams and things like that, and these mothers come with mirrors, holding them up in front of these soldiers. Instead of throwing rocks at them, they hold up a mirror and say, my son, are you really, really, really proud of what you have become? Do you really think that honor in bashing my head in with a baton? You know, is this really why you became a soldier? Yeah. These type of things. That is the thing that changes it. Once that goes into the heart, on some level, it might get to the heart of this soldier. And the more soldiers, you saw it in the Iranian Revolution, they sent out thousands and thousands of soldiers shooting people, their own people. They sent up helicopters throwing bombs at them. They pushed hundreds of people into cinemas, put them on fire. But in the end, the people with no weapons just came out again and again and again in the streets, totally non-violent, putting flowers down the barrels of the soldiers' weapons and just saying, please, my son, wake up and see what you have become. And many of these soldiers just broke down, started crying, and changed sides. And in the end, they threw out the Shah with the fourth strongest army in the world. Unreal what happened there. Look at Gandhi walking around more or less in a diaper and no title, no nothing. What he managed to do, totally non-violent, but my God, the courage of that man and the focus on fantastic. He showed the way. He showed the way. And to quote him, if I can quote him as well, he said that at times when I despair, I remind myself that over the centuries, dictators had come and gone. For a while they looked totally invincible, but in the end they've always fallen, and very often on their own power struggles. And this is the way. Now these people, they look totally invincible. Yeah, right. They're going down. They are going down because there's this beautiful video on YouTube. It's called The Tiny Dot. It shows the whole thing. The people that are controlling, that we are letting control us, are the size of a small sand. What do you call it? Sand corn? No, you don't call it sand. Dust of sand. And we are billions. They are thousands. We are billions. So for us to let them control us, it is a joke. It is such a mad joke. I don't get it. I really don't understand. And the only thing we have to do is say, no, we're not playing this game anymore. You can shout and do whatever you want. We're not doing it. And that would just totally stop the whole thing. And especially if we stop controlling each other for them. We are controlling each other. That is also totally mad. Checking out that nobody stands out, nobody speaks out, nobody becomes too free.
Exactly. They have us trained to be obedient.
Yeah, but what are we obedient to?
Exactly.
We should be obedient to life, to joy, to all of these beautiful things, you know. We should see, I am going to stand for what is right. I'm going to stand for what is beautiful, what I'm made, why I'm here on earth. Not what I'm being pumped in with some mad mind. When you look at the mind behind the so-called New World Order, the Agenda 21, these type of things, read it, go through what it says, and you will just say, oh my God, it's a totally mad mind, sorry, mad mind who has come up with a thing like that. Read Agenda 21. It's like, who has let this person out? They should be behind bars. They're totally off their rockers. But so many countries have accepted this, and this is what is going on in the world. They're just pushing it forward until we say no.
Right.
And I just want to say the wonderful thing is, once your no gets strong, then your yes becomes even stronger and clearer. Otherwise it's boo boo. You can't say no. You can't say yes. You can't do anything. So it's a matter of practice. I'm training. I'm practicing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think the word no is the operant word there. That's what we need to do. We need to say no, but we need to say it the way you'd say it, with love and understanding, and looking at the person you're saying no to, realizing that he's a human being, has a mother, might have children.
Do you know, it's like Jesus said, judge the sin, not the sinner. He judged what the sins that are being committed. Awful thing. It is not okay what they carry out. Absolutely no way should they be allowed to do it, or should they be allowed to continue. But see the person as well beyond it. Do you know, I saw this documentary, a French documentary, absolutely mind-blowing. There was a young couple, they were only 15, I think it was in Canada, and this couple were up, a boyfriend, girlfriend, they were on a bridge, and there were two prisoners that had escaped that saw them, raped her, killed her, and killed the guy as well, and threw them off the bridge. They were caught, these two criminals, and taken to court and so on. The parents of the boy were so full of hate, they just wanted to fry the buggers, kill them, execute them. That was their approach. The parents of the daughter that had been raped and murdered brutally, decided on the evening after they had received these awful news that we will not let this poison us. We will see that this is a very, very awful situation, very, very difficult, but we will meet it with love. There is a reason for this that we do not understand, but we will meet it with love. And what they did, they went to court, they started writing letters to these two murderers, explaining that they forgave them. One of the murderers said, "Oh my God, these people are mad," and just pushed them away. But he did not want to speak to them, meet them, take their letters. He freaked out. The other one was very confused. We're back to the situation where somebody is trying to hit you, and you meet him with divine. They get confused. Here was a man very violent, with a very violent background, and then he was met with love. He got totally confused, very, very confused. And during the court days, this was a year or two after this awful thing had happened, in the court, the parents of the daughter were sitting there supporting him during the court case. He was so confused about this. And then once he was sentenced to like 30, 40 years, something like that. In prison, he started receiving their letters and exchanged letters and so on. And it totally transformed him. And he became a painter and a teacher and things like in prison. And the documentary ended with them meeting for the first time in prison. They never met in person. And they met in this incredible hug where everybody was crying. The prison wardens were crying. Everybody was crying because the intensity of healing that took place there was just unreal. And the whole key to that thing was forgiveness and love. Not looking the other way, not saying it is okay, not bending your head. They did not do that. They looked right at the pain and passed it, transcended it. And this is the thing with these people that are doing all these awful things as well. They need to heal as well. And I have this beautiful prayer that my Raja Yoga teacher, Melanie Chelera, sometimes says, and it goes like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Victory to that light.
Wow.
This is the way. This is the way to go. It's only if they heal as well. These people are suffering. They have this, and I don't know, but I imagine they have a massive big black hole inside of them that they're trying to feed with all type of greed or whatever. It will never, ever be filled up. It is the ego personified, and it will never give up. It's like somebody with bulimia. They will never get full. They will just keep eating until they die. But forgiveness, compassion, empathy, love is the way forward. Through these very trying times, I still think that this is the way to go. And we've seen people, I think, I see people like Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad, but they were like super hackers that cracked the matrix. They suddenly understood what the whole thing was about. And what they said was, they understood that whatever the problem is, meet it with a higher frequency. You can see that in laboratory tests as well. You got a low frequency, a high frequency. When they meet, boom, the lower one gets annulled. So the higher frequency, you can meet whatever the problem is, meet it with a higher frequency. And the highest frequency in the universe is the one that we label love. So I would say Jesus, that I see, I'm not a religious person, but I see him as one brave man, and who paid the ultimate price, but also somebody who really knew what it was all about. He said, forgive them because they do not get it. They don't understand what they're doing. So don't worry about them hurting me. They're hurting themselves at the moment. They don't understand it, but that's the way. Judge the sin, not the sinner. And whatever the problem is, meet it with a higher frequency. Meet it with love.
That's a great little talk. I'm so inspired now. But it's not from a place of like a lot of New Age teachings talk about sitting in a meditation and focus on the positive, and a lot of those things that you're saying in a way, but in another way, you've witnessed, you've done the hard work, and you're still doing it. Your eyes are totally open, and you're doing what you can to bring this thing under control. You're not inactive at all. And at the same time, you're coming at it from an extremely high level, this level of love. So I think your approach is the approach that we all need to take. First of all, open your eyes, see what's going on. If you can see the patterns, that helps everybody because you can avoid what's going on. And then the other step is to move in with love. No, I know what you've done. I know what you're guilty of, but I still can forgive you and love you. If you stop doing it, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Not easy, but not impossible. It is a tricky one because you have to be aware of yourself all the time. Where is my mind going? Where do I come from? What is my intention with this meeting? And sometimes I think it's really good to cut things up in sequences so that your focus, it's easier to keep focused. For instance, like now, my focus is just to do what I can in this interview, whatever I can to lift or do my part. Then that is that sequence, the end of the sequence, and my intention, that was it. As soon as we say bye-bye, it's a new sequence. Maybe I go out and I'm with my family, then my focus should be with my family, be as loving as possible, be as much in focus around that as possible. Then maybe I have to drive somewhere. Then the new sequence is keep safe in the car, don't hit someone else, don't get too distracted so that you don't know what way you're driving, because that's dangerous to do yourself and others. That's that focus. But by cutting it up in sequences or small chapters, if you can do that in your life, it gets easier to keep the focus. And then I think the more you train on doing that, keep the intention clean and focused, then you can do it on a bigger scale, more and more. But it is a constant job to be aware of your mind, because that is where the battles are. And I would say, you said New Age, I would say Old Age. These are such old teachings that it's like that we haven't got it yet. Once again, come on, guys. It's been right in front of our eyes for thousands of years, and it is also a very tricky one. I would say this thing of being forgiving, but at the same time not accepting that things are, but not accepting the deeds. It's confusing sometimes, but it's still the way. It is still the way, but what really inspires me is that when you go into a dark room, when you switch on the light, it is not like the shadows are struggling and fighting against the light, saying, "I'm not leaving," and just hanging on, being pulled out of the room. They just disappears. And the frequency of the light is a lot higher than the frequency of darkness. Same with love and fear and hate. The fear and hate are the lowest frequencies. And this is where this group, this so-called elite, this very tiny little minority that we are being manipulated by, they're so aware of it, so that's why they want to press us down, so that they can control us, so that their energy is higher than ours, so that they can be in control. But as soon as we just lift by filling ourselves with gratitude, whoop, they can't get to us, And this is also, you say I'm fearless, I say I'm in love. I stay in the focus of love as much as I can, and I feel that the chances of me getting hurt are a lot less than if I had been panicking or if I had been paranoid. It's very easy in my situation to get paranoid. I mean, I've been under attack many times, and it's freaky, it's scary, really scary at times. But if I can get my focus back, then it's like it goes good.
Right.
For many years, when I have a book called Coup d'etat in Slow Motion about the assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister, with all of the links with the JFK, Iran-Contras, pedophile gang, drugs, you name it, it's all in there. And for many years, I was very afraid of letting the information out there, because I thought, oh my God, I'm sitting here with so much information that is not known, that if this information comes out, then the risk of people being exposed to the extent that they might commit suicide, or it would be total, tragedies within families and so on. It was very hard for me to say, is it okay for me to let this information out there, and how should I do it, and so on. But once I did it, what has happened is that instead of all of these awful things happening, instead of me being threatened or being assassinated or something like that, the only thing that I have been met with is incredible responses, like from you, or in my guest book. I've got I think about 1,300 people who have written in my guest book, all of them more or less saying the same thing. Very kind words towards me, but what they're actually saying, and what I feel so wonderful about, is that when I talk about love, it's not that I'm teaching anything. It's that something inside you know that it's true, and it ignites that feeling in you, so that it just resonates in you, and you know this is true. You know, yeah, it feels good. This is the way to go. This is the right way to go. I'm just reminding you, the same way I'm being reminded by other people. So, and this is why I'm still here. I'm not dead. I'm not threatened. I'm not whatever. I've just been embraced by this incredible, welcoming
Yeah,
response.
you've been very inspiring to me. I can remember back when we were struggling with the Ebola crisis. You said, "Yeah, I'd like to go there and I'll check it out. I'm a journalist. No fear,
No,
nothing at all. I mean, you just wanted to go. I don't know whether you went or not, but that,
no, misunderstanding. I'm not a journalist. I think most journalists should be very ashamed of themselves not doing their jobs. I know very few journalists that actually are doing what they're supposed to do. I used to work as a journalist many years ago. What I said was not, I said in that interview, I said, please be aware that if you look behind the structures of these laboratories, behind these, the CDC, which is CIA creation, and the whole Bilderberg meeting where the mayor of Atlanta, where the whole epicenter of the Ebola thing came, was invited, where lots of experts on biohazards were invited to this very secret meeting. I said, please be aware that they're trying to do it to us again. I'm not a medical expert in any way or form, but all the signs are there. They tried with the swine flu. They're going to try, and if they don't get away with it this time, it's going to be the upside down monkey flu or the blown up banana flu. Whatever they can try to scare you with. The thing you have to watch out for, the vaccines. These are the killers. Some of these patents are labeled weapons of mass destruction. They are awful. Keep away from the needles. Do not get your children anywhere nearby, and stay as far away from the FEMA camps as you can, where they will say, please come to your local FEMA camp. You can have a drink, and we painted it all pink. Don't worry about the barbed wire. We will take care of your kids in playground that is mine surrounded. Don't even worry about it. These are the things. Please be aware that this is the work of the elite trying to scare you into going there and follow their agenda, which is the vaccine, which is in the long run is to kill us. Not a very nice agenda. So I said, the thing they always do is they say the threat is over there where you cannot check it out. That's why if it's not in Taiwan, then it's in Sierra Leone, or it's in Uganda, or it's in some distant colony somewhere where you cannot go yourself and check it out. So these Ebola thing, and I can't remember the other names of these viruses. I love them sometimes. Because they always come up, either it needs to be a really catchy name so that you will remember it, so your subconscious go, Ebola, oh, got it, now I can spread it to other people as well. Or they freak you out with something that sounds really mysterious. So it's the Rohumpa virus or whatever. But what I said was, in whatever country you are listening into this, please call into this program. If you look outside the window and you see big piles of dead bodies, please call in and tell us. If you're in Costa Rica, where there's supposed to be 150,000 casualties or whatever, please call in. If there are loads of dead bodies around you, please call. If you're in there, call in. Nobody called. And I said, I would be very, very happy, because the Ebola thing is a creation of a laboratory in Atlanta. It's created by the same people who created the AIDS virus. The incredible documentaries, one is called In Lies We Trust. Watch that one. The virus is real. The scaremongering is not. What is going on is that they want to go down and get to the minerals and the diamonds in Sierra Leone and other countries. They need a reason. That's why they put it down there, so they can send soldiers down there instead of medical expertise. Anyway, so I said, anyone, please send me a ticket. I'll be most happy to go to wherever the epicenter of this so-called epidemia is, and lie down and hug these people and help them the best way I can. Nobody sent me the ticket. I did not go. But I tell you, once you look at, like, for instance, I have a newsletter as well that I'd be most happy if people can sign up to or support me by donation or buy my books, because I'm in a difficult situation financially, so I'm extremely appreciative of financial help. But in one of my newsletters, I just put like, I don't know, it was 30 or 40 pictures from the Ebola outburst, you know. And one of the things these people do is they have like agency, like public relationship agencies coming in saying, instead of it being cornflakes, we have to market, this is a virus. We need to go get into the subconscious of people to freak them out so that they will come and buy our product, in this case, the vaccines. And normally they go for logos, jingles, colors, trademarking, and these things. They could not have a jingle for the Ebola. It would not really fit in. Ebola does not work. And the logo they already had, the virus thing, great. So what they did, they used the colors that they normally have for this biohazard thing. It's very yellow and very green. So I put like 40 photos from different parts of this Ebola thing. In every single one of them, you have a person with dark skin and a very green t-shirt, or very yellow, something very green, very yellow, and dark skin. In every single photo of all of these photos, the victim that came to Dallas, green t-shirt or green shirt. The so-called man that died there, green shirt. Here in these false flag operations, same thing. They use to, you know, women and children, instead of blowing them up to get the emotional thing. In the outskirts of these false flags are nurses, nuns, doctors, or priests. These are the things to get the emotion going. Look at the victims here in Spain. Nurses, priests, it's like the same. So I was just saying, please be aware of the signs. Please see what's going on. Do not buy into it. Say the magic word no, and get on with your life. You know, be loving around you.
I think that's really good. I'm sorry I misunderstood it, but I'm glad that you straightened me out.
No, it's just important for me, because people think, oh, you're a paid journalist. You're paid to go there. I'm paid by no one. I have absolutely no support other than from ordinary people who think that what I'm doing is something that they stand for. And this is my only way of income. And so my website is lightonconspiracies.com, lightonconspiracies.com. Very handpicked word, because it is light on conspiracies. Put the spotlight right on them. Because the thing is, it's just like a magician. You see a magician doing something magical and you think, oh my God, that's absolutely incredible, or it's very scary in this case, you know. But after a while, the more you see it, suddenly you discover that he's not doing it with his left hand, he's actually doing it with his right hand behind his back, you know. And once you see that, you don't even look at the left hand anymore. You see, oh, come on, I'll see what you're doing. So this is why I think it's so important to expose the methods, the templates they're using, how they carry them out, these operations, and just say, we're not buying it anymore. Just like people Googling false flag operations in the millions now. Wonderful, wonderful. I do everything I can to pump out and expose these templates so that so I don't have to go into details about Sandy Hook, Boston bombing, the Woolwich beheading, all of these things. Once you start seeing, you see next time they do it, you say, oh, I know this one. And even better, if you start see how they prepare it and how a drill is more or less always one of the parts. As soon as you see an ad in your local newspaper saying we're going to have a drill, an anti-terror drill or anti-mass shooting drill or anti-whatever drill, go down there, start filming them. It will look like a normal film set, you know, like for Coca-Cola, Fanta adverts or anything like that. You will have trucks with equipment there. You might have bomb trucks. You will have people walking around with badge around their neck, you know, with authority, ID cards around their neck, sorting the whole thing up. It's said to be an anti-terror drill. Very often, it is not. It is the real thing, and the people in the drill don't even know all the time that it's actually a drill going live in the middle of it. Halfway through, boom, suddenly it goes live. This is the way they get the explosives in position. This is how they get the patsy without having no idea what he's part of in position, so he can be blamed on it, and so on. So I say go down, film them, make it very obvious that they're being observed, so that it comes to a point where we say to them, we see you, don't even think about pulling that trigger. If you do it, we know. So don't do it, back off, go home, get a life, stop messing us up. and pump these things out live on YouTube, so that, and should it be that they pull up one of these things and it turn out to a real forced flight massacre, which it is sometimes, very often they're fake, but sometimes they're real, very tragically. But then this type of footage would be incredibly important to have before and after, so that you can compare afterwards, where were the explosives, where were the angles of the buildings, where was the shooter hidden, and so on. Can be so valuable. But even better, pre-empty or not strike, but pre-expose these things, so we can make it stop. As soon as they even start thinking about it, boom, we're there saying, back off, not okay, go home, get your ego on the size of your head instead of wherever it is. Right. It needs to go down. And also, when it comes to politicians and so on, let your money talk. They are so aware that we've let them totally out of control. Please understand the meaning of the word government. It comes from Latin, governmente. It means mind control, control the mind. That is the word of government. These people are there to tell us what we want to hear, and at the same time do whatever they want behind the scenes. Many of them have a totally different agenda behind the scenes to what we have elected them to. This is why nothing changes. And through these hidden networks, where the Bilderberg Group is one, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Committee of 300, Skull and Bones, that's just on a certain level. I mean, the levels higher up in the power pyramid, but these are levels that I leave to other researchers to cover. But it's through the exposure of these networks that you see how they're connected. So it's beyond, it's above national borders. It's not a matter of, well, England does this and France does that. No, it's a matter of handpicked people in England are controlled, handpicked people in France are controlled, handpicked people in Sweden are controlled, and handpicked people in the States are controlled, and so on. And through this network, they pull it in. They see the world not as a world of different countries. They see it as a corporation with franchises, and they just play us out. They want a one world fascist state with no borders, no races, no everything, just erased and totally controlled. Not a beautiful sight.
No. Well, thank you very much for what I think is an incredibly inspiring talk, and also one that repositions us in a different way to look at this struggle as one for liberation, one that should be done in the name of love, and one that is going to have really good consequences. Before we go, Ole, why don't you remind us of your website again and the various things that are for sale? When somebody like Ole devotes his life to waking the populace up so that we can transform the planet, many times they don't work for people. They work for themselves. They do this out of the goodness of their heart, out of their unselfish nature. And so we all need to realize that it's our obligation, it's our privilege, actually, to support them. And this book that he's got has got to be fascinating, because he really got into that very deeply and is very knowledgeable. Do you want to say a few things about that before we go, Ole?
I would very much like to say that, just like you say, the only thing I want is to be able to do my part. to be able to focus on this thing. For some reason, I've come up with a role, or I've taken the role of being in the front line doing these things. I'm happy to do it. My soul is crying out of joy of doing these things. I'm happy to take the risk. I'm happy to do whatever it takes to make a difference. At the same time, to do things like this, to be able to focus and at the same time feed your family, very difficult. And I'm not poor, but we are right on the limit. And I'm saying, in a just exchange of energy, I've devoted 30 years plus of my life into this. I am so grateful for anyone who wants to support what I'm doing and to see the meaning behind it. I'm very grateful for your beautiful way of describing it as well. So I've written several books. I've written Coup d'etat in Slow Motion, that was about the assassination. I've written one called Shadow of Tears, that is about a true story about when I took that bicycle going down to Iran, everything that happened, how I smuggled this friend of mine out and how we got the rest of them out as well. I've got another book called Remind Me. It's built on all different religions and Raja Yoga, but built into a very small power book. You can read it in like an hour, and it's about how to reset your mind, how to see what's going on, at least in my humble opinion, and how we can free ourselves and our minds. I've also written a children's book called Yolanda Yoga Panda, and it's the subtitle is Truth is One, Paths Are Many. Don't point fingers at each other. We're all on the same, we all want to the same place, but everyone has our unique paths to walk, and we all got our unique role to play, all of us very important. So I would say truth is one, paths are many. I've got a newsletter, please sign up for that one. I've got a membership area, please sign up for that one. On the website also I've got one part where it says what you can do, where I've tried to collect a lot of information about how you can empower yourself by strengthening your knowledge about your rights and ways you can make a transformation for the world. There's also donation buttons. Please use them. And if you don't think that what I'm doing is the right thing, or you prefer someone else, please support other researchers, because most of the people I know, and I know most of them, or not most, but a lot of them on a global scale, and everybody as that I know, more or less, are struggling financially. This is it's like it go hand in hand, I don't know why, but this is the thing. So if you don't want to support me, please support someone else that you think is doing a good job. And if it would be okay with you, I would like to read the lyrics from a song that I wrote in 1997. It's from my album From Prison to Paradise. The wordings I've gotten from David Icke, and it goes to like this. Also, please, when I come to the verse, but then came time of change. That is where we are now. Okay, so what is the beginning is described in the background. Here we go. Once upon a time, in a place not far from here, there was so much loneliness, despair, and oh, so much fear. Darkness ruled all over the land. There was lightning in the sky, causing wars and separation, with no one knowing why. These evil times raised leaders, disguised as kind and true, hiding the truth in misty fog, so only very few people knew. Controlled by an elite few, manipulating you and me, closing out the light and power that can make us all be free. Wake up, we gotta wake up. Wake up, we gotta wake up now. Forced by invisible powers, demanded to conform into shapes unknown to mankind, making them totally abnormal. Drowned in debts and sorrows, blaming others for their lot, made man believe to be inferior, feeling tiny like a dot. And now is where we are now. But then came times of change, covering countries and their towns. Few became many, and soon the prison walls came down. Starting with the men in the mirror staring right back into their eyes, understanding that this was a chance to stop those hideous lies. Unhappiness is merely an illusion of misery, based on brainwash and a misconception of true reality. From now on, let's build bridges between our souls and hearts, so we together can rejoice when the final change comes to its start. Wake up, we gotta wake up. Wake up, we gotta wake up now. Turning prison into paradise may seem too much to achieve, but believe me, it only takes one strong spirit to be free. The true power of a pyramid is never ever at the top. Instead, it's we the people that can make this global game stop. Did you get it? Wake up, we gotta wake up now. On my website as well, you can go in, there's lots of sub-menus about different things I've done, artwork and stuff, and also music, and you can download all the songs that I've done for free. You can just download it. I also made music for a peace conference in Berlin a few years ago, and so on, where you also can download that for free.
That's great, Ole. I think what we'll do is we'll say goodbye and we'll go out playing that very tune that you gave us the lyrics to.
So I just said, put some sugar in the machine and let's dance out of this struggle, you know?
I'm with you.
Let's start a global dance party.
That's great. Thank you very much, Ole. We've really appreciated this.
You're so welcome. Anytime you want me back on, please don't hesitate. Whatever I can do to make a change for the better, I'm right there. Just keep getting me out there, you know, any form or shape.
It's our future.
Okay, thank you, Ole. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Once upon a time, in a place not far from here, there was so much loneliness, despair, and oh so much fear. Darkness ruled all over the land, there was lightning in the sky, causing wars and separation, with no one knowing why. These evil times raised leaders, disguised as kind and true, hiding the true and misty fogs only very few people knew. Controlled by an elite few, manipulating you and me, closing out the light of power that can make us all be free. Wake up. 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 Forced by invisible powers, demanded to conform into shapes unknown to mankind, making him totally abnormal. Drowned in debts and sorrows, blaming others for the lot. Made man believe to be inferior, feeling tiny like a dot. But then came time of change, covering countries and their towns. Few became many, and soon the prison walls came down. Starting with the wind in the mirror, staring right back into their eyes, understanding that this was a chance to stop those hideous lies. Unhappiness is merely an illusion of misery, based on brainwashing and misconception of true reality. From now on, let's build bridges between our souls and hearts, so we together can rejoice when the final change comes to its start. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. We gotta wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. We gotta wake up. Turn prison into paradise may seem to